I was just in a place where all these horrible things had happened in my life, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I didn't know how God could let that happen to me. And for the first time in my entire life, I was really angry with God. And I was like, God, how could you let this happen to me? Yeah, I actually came to know Christ at a super duper young age. Somebody was introduced into my life around that time, and that was, she was a challenging person to be around and just introduced a lot of like darkness into my family. And she was, verbally and physically abusive, specifically towards me, because she had a really, really hard life before we knew her. And she was just doing what she could to cope, having that like childlike faith of getting to walk alongside God, even when I didn't know what was happening, was, what got me through it. I think the three things that the Lord used to bring me to Him were definitely my parents, 100%. And that relationship with that person in my life, because it taught me to like invest in God and just to trust Him while you're walking through it. And then there's actually another relationship in my life that came later on. So for a lot of people who go through an abusive situation once, they kind of find comfort in it, and they learn how to cope with it. So they kind of find something else like that because they've learned how to be okay in that. And I started dating this boy who wasn't a Christian, and that was really, really challenging because, the whole topic of waiting to have sex until marriage came up. And I wanted to wait, and he didn't. And at first he was willing to wait, but that slowly faded away. And we just got to the point where it was like, I would say no to something, and he would either persist until I couldn't say no anymore, or he would just do it anyways, which I think is what really wrecked my faith in a way that I had never experienced, because even though I was walking through all of this as a child, I had my family supporting me, and I had my friends supporting me, and in this relationship I wasn't telling anyone, and because I really, really loved him, and I didn't want anybody to tell me to leave him, so I didn't tell anyone. I stopped investing, and the entire time that I wasn't investing in God, I was crying out to God, being like, God, where are you? He's like, you're not even trying. You're not investing anything into me. So he was silent, and I had never experienced silence from God in my entire life. He was literally walking beside me my entire life, and then suddenly it felt like he disappeared. And I had had breaking points before, but nothing and I'd had panic attacks about it before, but nothing like this situation. And it was just all that darkness that was being put into my life, I couldn't take it anymore. And I needed to come clean to someone. I wasn't ready to fully tell anyone what happened, but I needed to tell my mom, this is what I'm carrying. I can't carry it on my own anymore. Talking to my mom, I was just in pieces, just full panic attack, just sobbing to her, asking her, how could everything be so bad in the world? How could everything be just so awful? Where is God in all of this? And then the next morning, I went to go see my uncle give a sermon, and it was my first time back in church in a while. And he was giving a sermon on a psalm, and a lot of psalms are about lamenting and crying out to God and being like, God, where are you? This is horrible. Everything is awful. And that's literally exactly what I was doing the night before. And my uncle was just talking about how sometimes when we're crying out to God and asking God, where are you? And he's silent, it's because we need to lean in, and he wants us to go find him, which was something I was not doing and something that I really needed to do. Seeing all of that bitterness and anger and hurt just rise to the top really showed me that I don't need God just because of all those bad things that happened to me and I needed something to get me through. I needed God because of who I was. And I thought that I was too far gone. I really thought that like I was just in such a bad place that like God couldn't pull me out of it and that it wouldn't happen. But then one day I just surrendered. I was like, God, have it all. Have it all. I don't want it. Like, I genuinely can't take it anymore. And he took it all. And one day I woke up and I wasn't bitter with that boy or that person in my life anymore. And I wasn't angry. And I was like, what happened? I was like, where did it go? And for the first time in my entire life, I saw God take me the rest of the way. And it just absolutely changed me. And we see a lot in the Bible how God changes people's names from Saul to Paul, from Simon to Peter. And like, I never fully understood that until I saw God change who I was. Truly, I am not that depressed, bitter person anymore. Like, I'm a new creation. I'm like a vessel for God. Being in college, especially at a big school like UGA, you see a lot of people finding their identity in things that just aren't fulfilling. Like I think partying is a big thing, and even in their friend groups. I see those people, and I remember a time when I was finding my identity in things that weren't fulfilling, when I was just living for myself and not living for God. And I see how hurt they are. My advice for somebody who's exploring their faith in Jesus would just lean in a little bit. Just say that prayer. Read the Bible. Even if you don't have a Bible, open up the Bible app. Like, have that conversation, ask the questions. You just have to lean in a little bit and God will take you the rest of the way. You just have to try. It's not the easiest thing in the world to follow Jesus while you're in college, because there is a lot of that temptation around you and not everybody's doing it and doing the whole Jesus thing. Although you're giving up something that's important to you right now, God is going to bless you in ways that you can't even imagine. So as good as this might be over here, this thing that you want, God has something that is infinitely better, something that is so fulfilling and something that is so beautiful, and it's here for you. You just need to leave this. And it's scary because I was in that place where I didn't want to leave this because I loved this. But when I did finally leave that, and I did finally leave all the baggage that came with that, I got a revival in my faith, and I got to know God intimately, and I got to love people well. And it's phenomenal. It is life-changing, and it is truly all you need. And all this over here just doesn't seem all that important anymore.